The Chillicothe Six is used to describe the cases of 6 women who all vanished from the same part of southern Ohio between 2014 and 2016, although many now believe that number is far greater than 6. Since then, several of the women have been found deceased, some victims of foul play, others with an undetermined cause of death. 2 of the original 6 remain missing. Despite speculation over the years of a serial killer, there remains no hard evidence to tie anyone to the case. What has emerged, though, is a complicated web of missing persons, homicide, and overdose cases, testimony to the area's opioid crisis, and what appears to be a common thread of drug and human trafficking, which targeted a very specific victim. No direct links between the women believed to be attached to the case have been established, but they do share a great number of similarities. Their young age, the fact they all had children, they all struggled with drug addiction, and many falling into sex work. They shared certain acquaintances, frequented the same social circles, and at least 4 of the women attended the same drug rehab facility in Scioto County. The following are the cases of 2 additional young women who are now considered by many to be connected to the original Chillicothe 6. April 10, 2014. Jayme Bowen. 22-year-old female Jayme Bowen was last seen the morning of April 10th in Columbus, Ohio, walking just a few blocks from her sister's house to her parents' home. In just those few minutes, the young mother of 2 would vanish without a trace, never to be seen or heard from again. Was it old habits that lured Jayme off the path to her mother's house, or did the young woman simply fall prey, wandering into the wrong place at the wrong time? Jayme had recently completed rehab in Scioto County and was hoping to make a fresh start for her family and put the demons of substance abuse behind her. At the time of her disappearance, the young mother of 2 had been living at her parents' house as she continued the process of recovery and getting her life back on track. Very little information is known about Jayme's life, but amateur sleuths have been able to conclude from her social media posts that she had a lot on her plate. In July 2012, the father of her children was shot and killed by police for apparently having a gun. Despite Jayme's outrage, the case was deemed justified. Jayme then mentions a relationship from August to December of 2013 and another relationship with a new man who was incarcerated at the time that she was looking forward to being with upon his release in February of 2014. At around 10:45 a.m. the morning of April 10th, Jayme left her sister's house with plans to stop at a convenience store before ending up at her mother's, a 10-minute walk along a well-traveled route. After about 20 minutes, Jayme's mother and sister realized she had not arrived and was also at neither of their homes. A call to her cell phone was quickly answered and then hung up on, before going dead completely. Her family was immediately in shock and believed something was wrong. The area of South Columbus where Jayme had been walking, between Parsons and Stewart Avenue, was the same location where 2 other women had been reported missing, Danielle Green and Lindsay Maccabee, who were both later found deceased. Law enforcement have not said if there is any connection between the 2 women, but Jayme's case is not believed to be linked. There were also reports of a drug house on the route that Jayme would have taken to her mother's. Did she go there and possibly OD or run into foul play? An individual on the Bring Jayme Bowen Home Facebook page posted in 2021 a story in which she related being on Parsons Ave in 2019 when a white van approached. She claims a strung-out woman emerged and opened the back door and then attempted to grab her. The woman who wrote the post claimed she ran and was safe, but wanted to tell the story if it could help. Very little is known about the circumstances of Jayme's disappearance that morning, and investigators had virtually nothing to go on. In July of 2015, over a year after Jayme was last seen, a reported sighting of the young woman was made in Flint, Michigan, about 250 miles north. The tip claimed that Jayme may be in the city's east side, but the sighting was never confirmed. There was no known reason as to why Jayme would be in Michigan. It's been over 8 years since Jayme was last seen, and she would be 30 years old today. Her family had believed for some time that Jayme may be the victim of human trafficking, and that she has been prevented from contacting them. They also believe she would have never left her 2 children behind. They have worked to keep her memory alive and her face and name before the public, in the belief that one day they will find out what happened to their daughter, and hopefully bring her home. So what did happen to Jayme Bowen? Could a serial killer be to blame? Or are there other connections through the seedy drug underworld where young, vulnerable people can find themselves coerced into sex work? How could a short walk from her sister's house to her mother's have resulted in the young woman's disappearance? Was she abducted against her will? Or did she succumb to her addictions and leave the area voluntarily, never to return, falling prey to either an overdose or foul play? The lack of information surrounding her disappearance that morning, with no eyewitness or security camera footage, has left investigators and her family at a standstill for years. Jayme is 5 feet, 100 pounds, with blonde hair, blue eyes, and was last seen wearing a large gray hooded sweatshirt and very baggy red sweatpants. She has a tattoo of the name George III on the right side of her neck. This was the name of her children's father, and the name Jaden on her right shoulder. Her ears are pierced. If you have any information about the whereabouts of Jayme Bowen, contact the Ohio Bureau of Investigations or the Columbus Police Department at 614-645-4545. April 3rd, 2013. Megan Lancaster. 25-year-old female Megan Lancaster was last seen on April 3rd around 1 a.m. at a gas station convenience store in Wheelersburg, Ohio. She was reported to appear in distress. 2 days later, her car would be found abandoned at a local fast food restaurant. Did the single mother fall prey to her lifestyle, or was she caught in a larger pattern of human trafficking and drugs? According to her family, Megan Lancaster was once a talented athlete who even had garnered a scholarship to play softball at Shawnee State University. But a pregnancy in her junior year of high school put those softball dreams on hold, although she did later attend college. At the time of her disappearance, the young mother was known to be using drugs, and to get the money she needed to support her habit, she was engaging in sex work. These conditions most likely led to her son going to live with her mother. Unfortunately, many believe Megan had become caught up in the drug trade that exists between Detroit, Dayton, and Columbus, Ohio, an area which had become notorious for missing young women, all of whom appeared to be in the same life situation as Megan. The evening Megan was last seen, she was with friends and is reported to have called her mother at around 7:30 p.m., saying she needed to run an errand before heading over to her mother's house to spend some time with her son. Only Megan never arrived. The last known reported sighting of Megan was about 6 hours after the call to her mother, around 1 a.m., at a gas station convenience store in the town of Wheelersburg, Ohio, where she had an apartment. No one has seen or heard from Megan Lancaster since. 2 days later, on April 5th, Megan's white Ford Mustang was found abandoned at a fast food restaurant in Portsmouth, Ohio, a small river town about 100 miles east of Cincinnati, with her wallet being left on the front seat. Although these eyewitness reports are not confirmed, several employees at the Rallies in Portsmouth, Ohio, claim to remember seeing a white Chevy pull up behind Megan's car in the parking lot around 10 p.m. The employees claim they remember seeing Megan get into this car and leave the area with an unknown person. These same employees stated they also remember seeing the same white Chevy cruise through the parking lot for several days after, almost checking in, or as they put it, stalking. Since the very first days of Megan's disappearance, her family and friends have worked tirelessly to get the word out and help bring Megan home. Katie Lancaster, Megan's sister-in-law, was particularly involved and took on Megan's case personally, alerting the media and calling local officials to task. What she found when she began to peel back the environment surrounding Megan's disappearance was a network of corruption. A major clue: Katie found several color-coded notebooks in Megan's possessions. In these notebooks were lists of names and phone numbers, often with little notes next to them, such as "dance for" or "men who give money." It was in one of those notebooks that Katie found the name of Michael Mirren, a lawyer and former Portsmouth, Ohio City Councilman, with one entry next to his name simply stating $80. In 2019, 6 years after Megan's disappearance, Mirren would be the subject of an investigation into the drug and sex trade in the lower Ohio Valley. In 2020, Mirren was arrested and charged with nearly 20 felonies for crimes related to multiple young women involving sex trafficking and other illegal activity. Mirren maintained his innocence throughout all of this and had a trial scheduled for January of 2022. But that would not be the end of the story for Katie or Mirren. Megan's family has always believed Mirren knew more about her disappearance than he let on. In a 2020 interview with local media, when asked about Megan, Mirren responded that she had died about 5 years ago and that she had just disappeared. Also noting that, quote, in her business, she had not made friends. Unfortunately, Megan's case quickly grew cold, and she became one of the many young women with similar circumstances who have gone missing in the area, all connected to addiction and sex work. In October 2021, Katie Lancaster, Megan's sister-in-law who had worked so relentlessly to speak to the media and question local authorities, all to find out the truth about Megan, was found dead at her home at the age of 33. There was no indication of foul play or any suspicious activity, but it definitely was another blow to a family who had already lost so much. Also another blow to investigators. Just a month later, in November 2021, Michael Mirren, the former disgraced city councilor, passed away, just months before his trial date in January 2022. Megan's family and friends continued to fight to keep her name and her face out there, believing somebody somewhere knows what happened or where she may be today. Her son is still alive and living with relatives. So what did happen to Megan Lancaster? Was she the victim of her lifestyle, perhaps running into the wrong customer or possibly overdosing? Or was she like so many other young women in the area who all shared similar qualities, who were targeted by a sophisticated sex and drug trafficking ring, possibly connected to local officials, rehabs, parole officers, and street pimps? With the passing of her sister-in-law Katie and the disgraced former councilman Mirren with his 20 felony indictments, finding the answers to those questions about Megan undoubtedly got harder, but it's not impossible. Megan's case has been taken over by the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation's Cold Case Unit. They released these time-elapsed photos to show what Megan may look like today. Megan is 5'6" and 115 pounds, with blonde hair and brown eyes. She has an angel wing tattoo with the name Reese in cursive on her right shoulder. Megan was last known to be wearing jeans, an Ohio State sweatshirt, and pink Nike shoes. If you have any information on what happened to Megan Lancaster, please contact the Portsmouth Police Department at 740-353-4101.